Recently, Ben and I have collaborated on creating a super cool mini product, and it was built completely with Webflow. If you haven't seen the making of, which is super entertaining, we'll link it here or below this video. You definitely want to watch it. But in this video, we're going to break down how this was built within Webflow, a fully functional product. It's going to be interesting. Let's do this. Hey man, what's up? Good to have you back on the channel.
What's up, Brad? Good to be
it's
back.
been a few weeks since we've launched our collaboration project together. And today I want to break down, you did a really cool job building a whole product inside of Webflow in just 5 days. And I want to break this down for our audience so that they can see all the magical Webflow stuff that you've done.
The magic.
So, yeah. How about you give us a quick tour of the product just so that people can see all the interactivity and what went down, and then we'll dive into Webflow and break down how this was created.
Sounds good. All right, so here's designer path, and I will run through a short demo again. So designer path is this series of 20 questions we came up with. And so what this is in Webflow is a form, right? And based on what you click on this website will redirect you to the right page that we've created with the Webflow CMS. So when you go to the go next step, you can press on different options. And whenever you have pressed all the options, and you can actually, that's one of the draw side of how we build this, you can actually skip steps, and that doesn't really matter. So I'll just answer the quiz really quick to see what kind of designer I should be. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I describe myself as more emotional. Limited. Okay, and then on the last step, we see that there's a view your results button. When we press on this, it says we should be a graphic designer. And this page is unique, right? We can see that it's kind of like advanced in visual, not so technical. There's unique salary estimation. And then we have the suggested resources, which is the part of the value, if not the value of the tool, saying this is what we think you should look at when you want to be a graphic designer.
Okay, so let's dive into Webflow and see what is the structure of this, how we've used the CMS to create these dynamic changes, dynamic results for the end result. And how this very special form was created. So break it down for us.
Let's go. So if we check the navigator and we see inside here the card holder, we'll see that there's a form. And inside this form, we have a slider. All right, that's the basic structure of this project. We have a form and a slider inside. And what I did was create a slide for each set of questions. And maybe I'll show this later on. In our first mockups, we had a lot of questions for each slide. And then we decided, for the sake of clarity and not having too much cognitive overload, to only show one question per slide. So in fact, we have 20 slides, right? And how this is built is the go to next step is actually Webflow's default right arrow. And if we go to the next slide here, the left arrow is the left arrow. The back.
So this is how you're using a slider to move in between the questions. And each of the questions, I saw that they were created as a radio button.
Exactly. And so it's been a couple of years now that Webflow allows you to customize the radio buttons. So that means that if you click on the right option, then if we go to the live version here, then it untoggles the other option, right? This is important. We don't want to be able to click on both. So that's why the radio button is the necessary
form component, yeah.
Form component instead of a multiple select.
Or a checkbox, yeah, exactly.
Checkbox.
Exactly.
So that's what we did. We customized the radio button up. If I go to the next slide here. So the key to make this work is to customize the right arrow and the back arrow so that it feels like next step and previous step. As you said, customizing the radio buttons, and each radio button has its own group name, right? Here it's question 1 technical, Q1T. And what we're doing afterwards is inside this long custom code, we're checking the value of each group radio.
But Ben, maybe let's explain how we thought about this. So the way that we thought about this, we've created a spreadsheet where we created 5-dimensional, like technical and these few different variables, and we made calculation that, for example, if you're answering a positive answer for 5 technical questions, then this is going to rank you in a specific way, and that's how we know what the right result is going to be. So I think it's really great to show the spreadsheet that you're creating right now. We've planned the calculation and the questions and the structure of this before we went ahead and created, obviously, the form. But now what you are about to show in the code is how we are calculating these results. Do you have in the personas the numbers that we decided on? Yeah, exactly. So here it is. If you have a very high technical but a very low visual or something like this, this is basically the ranges that if your rank falls between them, this means that this is the right answer for you. So this is part of the planning that we did before we thought, how can we implement this within Webflow? But now you can continue and show how we're counting the scores.
I'll go ahead. So once I take this value in the custom code, I'm basically adding up the value inside a visual, technical, strategic, relational, which are the 4 dimensions that we decided on. And each one is actually a score. If we check here, this last month is worth 20 points, 20%, but this one is worth 0%. In such a way that in the script here, if we add everything up, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100%, then that means you're highly visual. And that means that afterwards, here, it's basically a bunch of conditional statements. If you have a highly technical score in the variable technical, and also a high, like a visual score above or equal to 40, then we will redirect you to this page, which is the product designer page. So to recap, I'm getting the value in the custom code here. I'm adding up, doing this calculation of to see your score, your visual, technical, strategic score, and then a bunch of conditionals. If your score is above 80, above 40, above 80 for strategic, and above 80 in relational, then I'm redirecting you to the designer tab that we think you should be.
And this script runs only when you click the submit or view your answer button, right?
Exactly. Whenever so this is jQuery, right? So I take the form ID here, and whenever there's the submit event, I run the script. Exactly.
Fantastic. Okay, so this is pretty cool. This is how the magic of the form happens. You also had this very cool kind of like a load bar to see your position, right? How is that created? How is the progress bar created?
So the progress bar, what I'm doing is whenever I click the right button, then I add 4.55% on the width. So let's dive into the actual element. I have this div called a progress bar, and inside this I have another div called progress. And we can see here the progress is actually 1%. It's tiny, tiny. We can't even see it. But if I go ahead and increase this is in percentage. So if I go all the way to 100%, then the progress bar is finished. Okay. So what I'm doing with the script is adding up percentages on the width whenever I click the right button. And we'll see here in the ID I've said this was right. And if we go back and select the left arrow, this is difficult to do here, left arrow, we can see the ID is left. So if I go back to the script, whenever I click, again with jQuery here, simple jQuery, whenever I click the left button, I remove 4.55% of the width. And whenever I click right, then I add. This was really simple to build in a way. And maybe also it was easy for me because I have some experience with jQuery. There's another way to do this, is with custom interactions within Webflow. And I think that's also very, like, that could work. It's just not the path that I've decided to go forward with. There is one drawside that I still want to sort of explain here, is that if I go all the way here, you can see it actually doesn't go to 100%, even though we're in the last. And that's because there was.
Well, it's because that's the calculation that you did.
That's the calculation.
You could have made you could have made a calculation that the last step would be the 100.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I know why I wanted to say this. It's because at some point, I don't know if you remember, to make the experience better, I had a few lines that said, if you click on the option, it automatically goes to the next step. But then I had two events that went to the next step: the click on the next step and the go to next step. And therefore, the progress bar sometimes went all the way there and sometimes didn't even reach that. So it created a few bugs. But since we didn't go forward with that idea of whenever I click on an option, it automatically goes to the next step because it created too many bugs, I just dismissed that code. Yeah.
That's really cool. Do you want to cover the CMS and how we've built all the content from the spreadsheet that you show? Absolutely.
So, and I think that was made clear in the video we actually spent in the first video we did together. We spent 2 days, I think, in total, trying to figure out which resources we should put forward for each designer type you should be. And that's where you did most of the, if not all the hard work, to think through, okay, what's the best course for a web designer? What's the best podcast? What's the best blog? Here, what we could have done, but we didn't, would be to create a CMS collection named resources and then import all these links. But given that we wanted to create these more in-depth descriptions, we had to add more details. And so I actually created this CMS by hand. So let's look at the different CMS collections. First one, we have the designer types. Okay, we have web designer, agency owner, and each designer type is related to this CMS collection called resources. So let's look at the resources. Each resources has a link, short description, a thumbnail, a price, a duration, and then a category. And what we do when we go in the CMS page for the designer type, since
this is a template page, right? This
exactly,
is a template CMS
page. We can see it here, collection page here. We can see that since we've decided to point each resources directly inside the designer type, then we can pull them up here automatically. And we did the same with the tools. We have a collection list called tools, and we put a lot of tools with their icons and a link. And all of that appears in each unique page. The reason why we created a CMS collection instead of doing it by hand was that we thought if we want to add more resources afterward, this makes it very easy with Webflow's CMS to just add a resource and it would automatically show up here instead of manually designing everything. The power of Webflow right here.
Amazing. Well, I think this is great. Do you want to show some of the analytics and stats that,
yes,
like how we've been tracking our progress with this?
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted to see a bit who finished, how many people finished the quiz, which designer path most people took. We wanted to collect a bit of these insights. The problem with Google Analytics, which I guess is the default option for most of us, because it's so easy to integrate with Webflow and it's so powerful, is that first we would have had to have a cookie banner in a way, and we'd have to go on Google Tags Manager. It's just a bit of, it's not an easy, straightforward process, and it takes a couple of hours, but we didn't have that time. We only had 7 days, 5 days without the weekend. So to go faster, I went ahead with a solution that I really like called SplitBee. SplitBee is this analytics tool that doesn't require you to have a cookie banner, and it's really easy to integrate. And what you do basically is just you go, wait, if I go in the Webflow settings here, you just add one line of code in the custom code. And then, so kind of like what you do with Google Analytics, here we have SplitBee's code. And then what you do is you add these custom attributes to everything that you want to track. So let's say this right arrow that I want to track, I'll go in the settings here. And then in the bottom right custom attribute, it's the same attribute that I'm reusing all the time, which is data SplitBee event. And then I created this new thing that I wanted to track, which is go to the next step, click. And what it does here on this dashboard is that I can see all these events, right? And which is nice, because then I can create these funnels and see the percentages of people who clicked on the next step, the percentage of people who started on the main page and finished with the graphic designer path. That's 40%. I can do all these funnels, these stats very easily. Let's do one actually together. If we want to see how many people ended up with the agency owner designer path, we're going to select all the people that started on the main path, the main page, and then ended up on the page right after called agency owner. And we can see that 11%. And I can save this funnel, agency owner stat, let's say, save funnel, and that will automatically evolve through time.
Super easy.
Super easy. So easy to run. I can also see, for example, in the last 7 days, all the people that came from YouTube. Okay. What did they click? Right. I can add filters. And most of the people that were on designer path in the last 7 days that came from YouTube were actually from India. Oh, interesting. Maybe that's a lot of your audiences in India. And something really cool too is that you can see with the IP address what they did. So here they came from this website called Misco, and they oh, actually this is reversed. There you go. They started on the main page. They click, go to the next step until they eventually finish with the graphic designer path. then they
and they clicked the selected resources and they went to Misko's website because we recommend following him.
Exactly. And what's nice is that you can add notes if you want to do user research. You can see when they last connected. Given that designer path is sort of like a one-shot product, because once you've been recommended a designer path and you've seen the resources, chances are you're not going to go again. You might want to share this product with other people, but not really. So that's interesting, right? So Split B, super easy to set up. And now I have it with all my other Supercreative projects, which is really nice.
Very, very cool. All right, Ben, this was very, very insightful. I hope this helped a lot of people to see how you can use Webflow not only to build a website, but actually full-on functional products. This has been a super fun project to work on together. And thank you for doing this with us and coming on the channel to share.
It was awesome. I think maybe if there's a next episode, we can talk about the numbers, which are interesting to talk about. And what we do again and what we wouldn't do. I don't know. Maybe that's something that that's worth talking about too.
Let's do it. All right, Ben. Fantastic. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.